Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm Zombie Andre here, everybody, and we're going to get started. So, if you guys know me, I'm trying to upload videos every Tuesday, every Thursday, and um, that's kind of what I'm trying to keep. So, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I have not. I was going to be making a video over Destiny 2 Final Shape. I did do a video actually about what I kind of thought about Destiny 2 before the Final Shape came out, kind of giving up my impressions of the game for the 10 years I've been here. And it's a pretty good video. Definitely, if you guys are curious about it, let me know in chat. I can definitely leave a link to it. It's a very interesting video. I actually do feel like it kind of tackles a lot of the things I feel about the game. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about Destiny 2 Final Shape. I am Zombie Andre, and I'm going to kind of share about my feelings about it. And I think the best way for me to do it is to say it up front right now, guys. Do I think the Final Shape is worth the $50, the least of the minimum purchase just to have the DLC? And to be honest with you guys, I do not. I will repeat, I do not think it's worth $50. I do think the campaign is very interesting, but I do think it also depends on what kind of character or player you are going into the Final Shape and how you've gone through this journey through Destiny. The first thing, the reason I bring this up is because actually one of my good friends who has taken a break from Destiny. He kind of jumped off. I think it was a couple DLCs back. And he even came up to me. He's like, everyone's playing this game. Should I get this DLC? And if you guys saw my video, I was planning on getting this DLC because this is like supposed to be the end of the Light and Darkness saga and everything. So with that being said, it kind of given me a step or a push to where I wanted to. I was going to get this DLC anyways because I felt like this was going to be my ending point for Destiny, and it still kind of is, to be honest. Now, if you're a person who has kind of taken a break from the game and has not come back to the Final Shape, or you're thinking about coming back because of how great reception this DLC is, I will tell you flat out right now, do not get it. Because a quote from one of reviewer that actually reviewed it, he says that this DLC, and I agree with his statement after playing the Final Shape, is that this DLC is not a DLC that will change what Destiny 2 is. Because at the end of the day, this is a great DLC, and I'll say it's a pretty good DLC, I'll give it that. And a very good ending to a campaign. For storytelling, for sure, that we've ever seen from Bungie. But it is definitely not personally worth $50, in my honest opinion. I also don't feel like if you've taken a break and you're thinking that this DLC is going to change everything about Destiny and make it better, it's not. It will not. And I will tell you that flat out right now. So it's not worth coming back. Because at the end of the day, it's still Destiny 2. Now, the episode thing, as I said, that's not what we're including on this. We're just talking about the Final Shape. We're not talking about the episodes. We're talking about the Final Shape. But if you're a person that is like me, who's been playing with this game and kind of, chugging along, keep playing the game, then I do believe this game is specifically is a good stopping point. This is definitely something you should pick up, but I don't feel like it's worth $50 if you've never been in it or if you weren't going to buy it. But I'm pretty sure most people, if you were going to buy it or on the fence about it, you probably have already bought it. But it's definitely not worth the $50 that they ask for sure. Definitely not. I think Destiny has kind of lost a little bit of its way. In a good way and a bad way. But, yeah, hang on, give me a second, guys. cannot text. I'm gonna just put up to a post on Twitter. Okay, what was I saying? So, yeah, so I do think definitely going into this DLC, it definitely depends on what kind of person you are. If you're a person that's been sticking with the series the whole time, or if you're a person that's taken a break and you're considering coming back. If you've taken a break, just don't pick up the series. I don't feel like it's worth $50. I would say pick it up if it's worth 30 at most. Is how I would say this DLC is worth. Is 30 at most. I've also talked to a lot of my other friends that have been playing the series as well, kind of asking what they thought about the series, kind of trying to get different perspectives of what they thought about the series that they liked, what they didn't like, and it's a very interesting thing. Now, just to tell you guys going forward, I'm going to try my best to I'm going to try my best to hang on. Why is it not working? What the hell's going on? I don't know what's happening, guys. I don't know what's going on. Things are happening. So, going forward, as I said, it definitely depends on what you're saying. But the people, but $30 at most is what I would spend on this. Nothing more than that. To feel like it's worth. So I'm going to try to go forward, and we're probably going to get into spoilers. I think is the best way. Or I'm going to try not to get into spoilers. Try my best not to get into spoilers for people that actually are interested. But and I'll let you guys know when I get into spoilers. But we're going to tackle some of the points that I kind of felt like was kind of bad in the campaign first, and then we'll talk about some of the good stuff. Going forward, I think that's the best way to kind of tackle it going forward. So, first of all, the campaign missions for the Final Shape, great. I actually think a lot of them were very good, very well, set up, very beautiful, very amazing. They had some fluidity. It was good. They were challenging, especially on Legendary, and I liked that they made it where the prismatic was something you unlocked by progressing through the story. And even after you finish the campaign, you unlock more fragments of prismatic through the story. I do like that aspect of it, instead of us having to collect certain currency, or we have to do this little side quest to get it, and it takes a while, and then we come back and then we get that aspect or whatever. I like that everything is kind of like you do the campaign, you'll unlock stuff, and then you do the stories, you'll unlock stuff, and it's a lot better. It's not this I have to grind just to unlock certain things about it. To unlock my prismatic per character. So I think that's a very great thing that they did with the campaign. They kind of learned from Strand and from Stasis that people just don't like it. And I agree, I just don't like it. I don't like spending hours grinding. So I think personally the campaign's not in depth. I actually asked one of my friends about this, and they actually stated that they felt like this Witch Queen story had so much more in-depth stuff to it. It kind of had more depth to the story compared to what Final Shape was. But I think Final Shape, to be honest, was more of... Oh, this is the old release date. That's kind of funny. The Final Shape was more focused on a singular story, and I think they did tackle it pretty well, and gave you an ending, which I think was very good for an ending that they had. Now, the way I say that is that, do I think it's the greatest ending in the world? No, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think it was the greatest ending in the world of a series, but I do think it was a good, solid ending for what Bungie had, and it's a very good close to the Light and Darkness Saga, our story. That's been going on for 10 years. If you think about it, it's a lot to go with. The final mission was unlocked actually through somebody, or the first raid team completing the what was it? Salvation's Edge, the raid. So it was a 12-man activity. It was very cool having, besides you, 11 other Guardians in there with tons of AI of enemies and allies. The cutscene was cool. The cinematical cutscenes and everything were fantastic and great. It was very good and very good for what the story was or what they could have done with the story. Because personally, hearing the final shape was supposed to end this Light and Darkness saga, I'm not going to lie, I did have some doubts that they would be able to pull it off in a very interesting but satisfying way. But they were able to do it, and I'll give them that it was very interesting and great for what happened with the series. I do think it was a good, solid ending, but I don't think it's worth $50 solid ending, to be honest with you guys. And it was really interesting. It was very good without spoiling it. It was. You can kind of, I would say, if you watch the trailers, you can kind of probably guess the story beats of what's going to happen in a way. If you watch the trailer really closely, especially the one with the ghost, and how he's like, "Oh, we've been on this journey forever," blah blah blah, and stuff. And it's very, very interesting. So one thing about some of the campaign stories, when it starts off, the way the methods of how they tell the story are very repetitive. As somebody who's been playing the game since the very beginning, when Seasons first started, they had this formula with Seasons where you do a mission, you go watch people talk. You would then also possibly go to a projection of somebody that will talk to you. I'm sorry, I don't know why that took me forever to say. But yeah, then you go to a projection of somebody talking to you. And then after that, then you listen to a recording of people talking. And they've kept this routine, this method of how they deliver the story, with some cinematics also thrown in through the seasons, through so many years. I don't know exactly how many years. I don't remember what year they started it in Destiny 2, but it's just been going on for years and years and years. And I'm not going to lie, I think they use these methods to tell some of the story in the final shape. Now, I'm happy it wasn't done through the whole campaign. If they did it through the whole campaign, oh my gosh, I would have been like, oh my gosh, because it's just so frustrating, because we've been doing this forever, and it's just so repetitive and boring. And I even said it when I was playing with some of my friends, and I even live streamed. I'm like, it feels like the seasonal model. It's just annoying, and I think it's their methods to how they tell the story. Why? And the funny thing is, when we watched the final shape, the end cutscenes and everything, it felt so natural. It felt so good compared to how they told the story, like through the season stuff, like at the beginning of the campaign. Now, as I understand there are some points where you're going to have to talk to people on comps. It just makes sense. But Bungie's kind of had a issue, and they have gotten a little bit better with it, but not all the time. But they've had issues where you're always just talking to somebody on a comms. They're not actually there doing something. A good example of when that would be justified and make sense would be like one of the final missions of Final Shape. You are literally racing towards the enemy, or the witness, as you guys will know without spoiling it, and you're talking with Ikora, Zavala, and you guys know Cade's alive. But yeah, Cade on the comms, or actually even Crow on the comms, saying they're on their way. that makes sense because they were dealing with something at that time while you're racing to go and face the enemy. So that makes sense that you'd be talking to them on the comms instead of it always being that kind of thing where they're always talking on the comms. And I do give it to them on this, is that this campaign we've had more allies, more people actually on the battlefield with us doing stuff. That is something I'm very shocked by and very happy to see, because I'm not going to lie, in most of the campaigns for Destiny 2, we've never, ever had, like, actually allies on there as much as we had in the Final Shape, which it just makes sense, you know? It makes sense to have your friends there. But Bungie, like I said, as they began, it's just they've had issues where they just don't have any of their allies there. They're just always talking to you on comms. It doesn't feel like a video game. It feels like, oh, well, I'm going to go do this, and then you guys will just sit there and talk to me the whole time instead of actually being there and helping. So I do think that was great in the aspect of that. I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, it was pretty good. Definitely not worth the money, for sure. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about with the campaign, because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, and I think that's kind of the big thing, is trying to explain it without kind of spoiling it for everyone. But we might get into spoilers and kind of talk about it, just to kind of get into some other points and stuff, which are more just opinions. And as I said, at the end of the day, guys, if you personally liked the Final Shape, if you love Destiny and you love where it's going, that's fine. I'm just sharing my own opinions about how I feel about Destiny 2 as a person that's been playing it for 10 years. Playing it for 10 years, that it's kind of sad. Because personally, I used to love this franchise. And I think, to be personally honest, I think I should go a little bit back to kind of explain where I stand with the game and why I stand with the game the way I do. Because, as I said, after the Final Shape, I'm pretty much done with the game, is how I stand right now. I have played the campaign. I might do a couple little side things, maybe do a couple more exotics, but my plan is that after this week, I'm done with the game. No more money into the game, no more playing the game. Now, if one of my friends is like, hey, do you want to help us with a raid, or if they really need somebody, I might hop on and help them. But to play this game and put more time into this game, it's pretty much over for me. And it's due to many different reasons. The first one I have to explain is, I would say, is the trust in the company. And if you've been a Bungie fan or a Destiny fan for a while, you could kind of understand how the trust was broken. It was broken back when Destiny 2 kind of launched, with it not being as great as a lot of people thought, with the 2 expansions being not the best compared like what they were with D1. It was a repeat of what happened with D1 pretty much. And then it came down to also another it also came down to the vaulting of content. And in technicality, Bungie can do that. They can vault their own content because that's technically we're borrowing their license. But it just does not sit well with me, because that's why I personally am a big person when it comes to buying physical media. Because when you have that physical media and it's physically on your disc, they cannot take it away from you. Even though they might shut down the servers or whatever, you still have that game. That's why I'm a big person that pushes to get physical media usually. As I said, when Bungie vaulted a lot of that content, it felt like a slap in the face, man. It was like you spent all this money on this game, you vested it, you made it free for everybody, which was nice because then you could play with a lot of your friends, and a lot of the people who were jumping in at the time that have never played Destiny, they could actually get in and play the game for the first time. It just kind of sucks that literally at this point that they vaulted all that content, all the money you spent, a lot of the story's gone that was not horrible, but not like... It was pretty average, okay, pretty cool for what it was in the Destiny lore. If you look at it in the Destiny, like, storytelling, it probably was pretty damn good. Let's be honest here. But looking at it from, like, a wider perspective of telling stories in games, not the best, to be honest. But it's a very interesting thing to look at when it comes to Destiny, is that after they did that, after they sunsetted stuff, after they kind of took away things from the game that I spent money on, that I invested into it, I just I was like, I'm kind of done, man. I'm stepping back. I'm like, the trust in Bungie was very much lost. The trust that they're, hey, we're going to get better. We're going to do this. And then every time it just felt like it wasn't. So personally, from very far back, my trust in Bungie has dwindled more and more. Also with how Bungie was laying off people that were very big influences and pushes to Destiny and how it became the way it is. The layoffs, everything. It's just there's so much bad blood personally with me and Bungie with a lot of different things, personal and some just like with how their staff is being treated and stuff. It just does not feel good. It just doesn't with Bungie. So that trust has been lost for me with Bungie. Even though they're like, hey, we're going to change things around. But they've been trying to say that for 10 years, man. And yes, have they done some good changes and made good things and good pushes? Yes. But it just seems like a lot of the big changes and pushes have been happening now when they're pushed up against the wall, where they're at the point where they were with Forsaken, where if Forsaken didn't do good enough, that the studio would have probably been shut down. And I think that's kind of not great to be at that point where like literally you only do your best. You only do what you have to do just to get by. Now I'm going on a tangent about Bungie, which is not what the video is about. It's about Final Shape. So as I said, that's part of the reason why I kind of have my stance with this game is because the trust with Bungie, the company, the gaming company, has been lost. I just don't believe in them. I don't trust them. Even though they're singing sweet songs to me, telling me, oh, things are going to get better. And they're really good at marketing. I'll give them that. They are excellent at marketing new things. Their DLCs, fantastic. Probably one of the best. Second thing is, I think it's the cost, the microtransactions and stuff. As I said, this game, I remember back when there was a couple microtransactions where it just seemed like they were doing it for specific reasons and stuff. They were doing it to help the game, but now it's just blown way out of proportion, from adding player cards to free seasonal events to adding specific skins that you could only get in the microtransaction store to pushing, taking things out of seasonal stuff that was included in the seasonal price and selling it separately. And the price of the DLCs going up for less things in it. As I said, there's just a lot of different things that have kind of pushed me away from this game and kind of made me just scratch my head. But I think another big thing is just the grinding in the game has gotten worse. But they have decreased it in a bit. I'm not going to lie, especially with the Final Shape, they have decreased the grind, which I do appreciate very much. But I also think with how the Final Shape ends, I just can't see them doing a more interesting arc than what they've done or what they have done. And I think that's something that's going to be interesting to see where they go forward, but I'm just not going to be a part of that journey going forward after this DLC. And as I said, it's personally better for me, as I said, as a person that just doesn't have as much free time. Because I remember playing this game back when I was a kid, and I had a lot of free time, and I wasted a lot of hours playing this game. Hundreds and hundreds of hours playing this game. And some of them are happy, but some of them are sad. And I think it comes down to is what do you think about the game? If you have to ask yourself, why do you play the game? And in my opinion, I play the game to play with my friends. I play the game to collect certain things. But at the end of the day, do I believe the game story is captivating and enthralling that it's keeping me going? To be perfectly honest, I don't think it is. I do think this Final Shape DLC campaign was very good. Probably one of their best story points, but I would not use the words, this is the perfect ending for Destiny 2's Light and Darkness Saga. I do not think it is. I don't think there's ever going to be such a thing as a perfect ending for this. I think it was a very good ending and probably one of the best that they probably could do with the circumstances of how this Light and Darkness Saga has stranded on from D1 to D2. I think it's probably one of the better ones, and I did like the ending. The last mission, it was very good and interesting and very fun. Sadly, I wish we would see more of this in D2. Sadly, I'm not going forward with the series. I'd rather actually play other games and different other stuff and go forward. But yeah, it's a very interesting thing. What Destiny is and what it isn't. It's something that could be, and I think it's also the thought of that it could be better. It could always be something better. Like, oh, next thing they're going to do it better and better and better. It's being on that. It's like kind of like being a fish, and having that, like, you're being a fish, and there's the fisherman up there. He's throwing down his bait, and the bait is always the hope that it's going to get better, that there's always going to be another better thing on the other side. And it's just leading a lot of these fish or the people who are just going and following it. And I'm not going to lie, I was one of those fish guys. I was one of those fish that kept saying, oh, it's going to get better and better. But after a while, I kind of just stopped. I just stopped following. I just stopped trusting and following aimlessly with what Bungie has said and what they're going to do. It's been 10 years, man, and I feel like I've seen what Bungie can pull off. I feel like I've seen all the little things they've done and tried. And I don't think... Okay, I'm almost done. Yeah, sorry, guys. But yeah, I think I've seen everything they can do with the series. Now, what I'm saying is my opinion, guys. Don't get upset. Don't get frustrated. Don't go, this guy doesn't like the game. No. I'm at my breaking point with this series, man. I was talking with one of my friends about it, and they've even said that the only reason, because I asked them, like, why did you buy the series? And I asked them how they felt about the series before they bought the Final Shape and why they bought the Final Shape, because they had kind of the same mixed opinions I had with the series and about the trust being broken and everything. And I asked them, I'm like, why did you buy the series? I'm like, it's because this is the ending. I just want the cost fallacy, the FOMO and stuff. It's like I just wanted to get that ending for the series so that I personally could feel good than stepping away from the series and going on and moving forward and doing something else with the game. And I feel like that is where I've gone forward with it. I feel like I've accomplished what I wanted to do with this game series. And I don't think I personally can get anything more from it going forward. And for everyone that loves the series and loves the game, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. As I said, guys, my wife, she's actually just started getting into Destiny 2. I think it was only like I think it was back in Witch Queen is when she started getting into Destiny 2, and she loves it. And I'm happy for her that she loves it. And as I said, because the thing is like I look at her and I see how excited she is, and I as I said, I can look at her and I could see me when I was a kid when I first started Destiny. I could see that excitement, the thing. But as I said, I've just been dragged along for too long. Maybe I've just seen the good things in it, and I've kind of started to see the light started to kind of fade more on how Bungie's running the game. I've started seeing the imperfections a little too much, and I'm kind of just done with the series. Now, as I said, like if you enjoyed the series, keep it up, keep going. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. But especially in just the era of gaming where we're at now, it's very cautious because gaming studios, you look at them, like so many gaming studios have been shut down just for little things and messing up, not having enough numbers, not making enough profit, just many different other reasons. And I don't hope Bungie gets to that point where they have to shut down because the Final Shape just doesn't do good enough or because it's just not good enough. But at the end of the day, guys, Final Shape was okay. I think it was it was their best, probably one of their better or best DLCs that's come out in all of the Light and Darkness saga. And I do not recommend buying it for $50. I would recommend to buy it for $30 at most and probably not a cent more. But if you have been away from the series for a while, I would advise you not to jump back in. Stay away because at the end of the day, the Final Shape does not change the game exponentially and make it the game you've always dreamed it would be. Because at the end of the day, it's still Destiny 2. It's still the same mechanics. It's just a new coat of paint, new place, new strike, new weapons, a new super. But trust me, you're not missing out enough to come back or spend $50 on. So with that kind of being said and going forward, I think that's kind of how I feel about the Final Shape. I feel like it's an experience that's for people who are stuck with this, who have been with the game for a while, haven't taken really breaks, and it satisfies them. If you guys like the game, this is definitely for you. If you're looking for a good jumping off point, this is definitely the point here to jump off, like me. And it's an interesting ride. Very good story beats. It was nice to see a returning character, Cade, come back, and a very awesome 12 Guardian mode where we get to fight the Witness, which was fantastic. Probably one of the best things, I would say, the final mission and the final cutscenes. And I hope going forward, without me being there, they do more stuff like that, because I feel like that does add a whole depth. It makes it feel more impactful. I felt like that last mission felt more like an active war zone compared to what Lightfall's Nessus felt like. It did not feel like an active war zone. But yes, I think this is where I went forward. I feel like this is my goodbye to Bungie and my goodbye to the Destiny game. And it's been a very interesting 10 years with some ups and downs, some goods and bads, sometimes where I've just jumped off the series and then came back and been like, wow, I got like years of content to get caught up on, which is probably the point where I enjoyed the most, compared to the point where we get drip fed a lot of the content that we get today. But thank you guys. If you guys have your own comments of how you felt the Final Shape was, D2, if you guys are big D2 fans, if you have any personal questions about how the Final Shape is and if it's worth it, I will try to answer them in the comments below. But thank you guys all for watching. I greatly appreciate you guys being here and listening to my talk for about 34 minutes. Greatly appreciate it. And I love you guys. Have a great rest of your Tuesday and week. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.